Yes.
Okay, it's 6:30. It's awful dark out there, isn't it? This week's code of conduct is to strive for restraint, discretion, and integrity. Without restraining and discretion, you'll never get to integrity, right? So we're going to talk about influenza here for safety talk in a moment. And just some repeats of last week's announcements. We got winterization conditions out there. Wasn't terribly cold today, but I'm sure it's coming back at us. So make sure the pumps and everything are winterized, and still probably have plenty of registrations. So you don't want to be explaining to DMV why you forgot to go by Larry's shop to grab the registration. Technical tips, we're still on fluid mechanics and pumps. There's a lot to talk about, obviously. And last week we talked about selecting the size pump and everything. I'm going to start talking about different kinds of pumps. And like we said, centrifugal pumps are one of the most popular pumps that we have. And I got a definition from Wikipedia. It says centrifugal pumps are a subclass of dynamic axisymmetric work-absorbing turbo machinery. I'm like, really? What the heck does that mean? So I kind of restated what I thought. Centrifugal pumps use a rotating impeller assembly to put the fluid mass into rotation, which induces an outward force on the fluid body and pushes the fluid through the pump. This whole thinking about it got me kind of aware of maybe a more proper perspective of centrifugal pumps, because centrifugal forces are really about rotating masses and how it tries to push out when it's in rotation. So the centrifugal pump, I always used to think of, yeah, it's this rotating impeller, and the impeller just pushes the water out of the opening in the housing. But really what it's trying to do is spin the mass of water, and that tries to spread out, and when it gets to the opening, it pushes out. It's a kind of subtle but important difference. So as I said, centrifugal force is that outward component. So if you're driving around a sharp curve, you feel the outward force, that sort of thing. And think of that body at a very high speed, like if we're turning, I don't know, what would a pump turn, Larry? 1,000 to 1,200 RPM. That's a lot of rotation. Imagine yourself rotating at that. So another note I had is that it kind of makes me always think of riding in one of those turboprop planes, and the propeller is right there spinning at incredible RPMs, and all it takes is one of those to fail, and the whole plane would probably disintegrate. So obviously propellers are highly machined and engineered on a plane. Centrifugal pumps use this process we're talking about, and then that outward force pushes the water with the impellers, or pushing the water in that rotation. And it's a cut section through a Gould pump, and I couldn't find many real good illustrations online. Gould is actually made by ITT Technologies, which is, again, Godwin pumps. They make Godwin as well. So they have a pump housing, and the impellers are rotating on a shaft. It's drawing in water, draws it in through the internal part of the impellers, and pushes it outward, creates that rotational movement that pushes the water out. So that's really what centrifugal pumps are all about. Just a rotating impeller system that rotates the water mass. Get some photos from Reigate. Pretty cool picture of a train crossing over one of the bridges. Yep, you can see one of the guys down here. It's basically 70 feet from the rail down to the bottom of footing.
People on the train are kind of impressed too. They're all out watching us when I was there on Wednesday or Tuesday.
Which people?
When they pass on the train at like
the train is always checking out.
All the windows are open. Everyone's taking pictures.
So this is the arch culvert we're constructing, and these are the forms for the underlying part of the arch. Wow. They'll have panels that rest in there, they'll be formed in both sides, panels on both sides on the lower section. The top will be open and then screeded off by hand. It still has to put the skin on, the plywood sheathing skin on the top to give it the complete arch surface for the inside form. This is a perspective from below the railroad bridge, looking back at the highway bridge, looking upstream, the completed head wall. This is earlier than the previous picture, so the arch is just starting to get put together. They're putting these footings together. I forget what these footings are, like 10 foot 6 wide by 3 deep or something like that. And then this is a kind of perspective from more towards the outlet end, looking up, showing the railroad bridge and the highway bridge in the background.
Ken, how big is the arch?
That's a 32-foot clear span from side to side. It's about basically like a 16-foot radius from the center, just a nice circular arch. It'd be like,
They have to go with an arch. Just for look.
well, yeah, nicely. Yeah, just because of the loads primarily. Obviously, arches work good in compression and high loads conditions.
Something stronger than a square.
Yep. So that's what I got. You're going to talk about the flu.
Influenza. So I thought it was a good time of year to kind of quickly talk about this. I'm sure you're catching the news. It's kind of a hot item, but it's important in the workplace too, just to kind of get everybody thinking about it and overall health. The influenza. So we're going to get into what the peak season is. What should I do to prepare for this flu season coming up? When should I get vaccinated? Where can I get vaccinated? What flu viruses does the season vaccine protect us? And then when can I get vaccinated, or can I still get vaccinated and get the flu? So peak season, most commonly peaks in the United States is December through February, but flu season actively can begin as early as October and continue as May. So right now we are officially in flu season. So it's a good time, talk to your loved ones, your family, coworkers, everybody. Start thinking about getting the flu shots. So the flu vaccine is everyday preventable actions. Right now is the best of time, about 2 weeks after the vaccine, for antibodies to develop in the body. So it takes a little bit. So that's why we want to be kind of proactive with this thing. Flus can be really, really harmful, especially to infants. Where can I get it? Again, doctor's office, Champlain Medical Clinics, walk-in clinics, Clear Choices, things like that, health departments. A lot of pharmacies, they have a pretty good schedule, Shaw's, Hannaford's, those type of places. You can get in and out pretty quick. You just gotta call in advance, I would recommend. So these are the main 3 types that we're really trying to protect ourselves from, is the H1N1. I'm sure you see that very frequently, the N3, N2, and then the influenza B virus. These things, again, they can be really harmful and really dramatic when it comes to the workforce if it really starts spreading throughout the workers. So we want to make sure that we're doing good personal hygiene, washing your hands, taking care of yourself. Good recommendation. It's a pretty inexpensive shot to get, and it's going to protect you from these really bad flus. So can you still get it? Yeah, it is possible that you can expose to flu virus shortly before getting the shot. You can still get it during the periods when it takes the body to gain protection. You may be exposed to the flu virus that is not included in the seasonal flu vaccine. That is possible. The CDC really tries hard to figure out what the highest potential is, and then they treat for those. And then the flu vaccine is not a perfect tool, but it is the best way to protect against the flu vaccine. So that is the best possible work practice. We talk about potential hazards all the time. We're getting into this potential out there, so our best work practice, get the flu shot. I know, Ken, you probably have gotten yours. Anyone else got theirs yet? Scott has. That's good.
Get mine today.
Jane's getting his today. It's a good thing to look out for, and it's a good way to keep yourself safe and in good health moving through the holiday season that we're about to get into. And I don't know if you can tell by the nature of my voice, I'm dealing with a little cold myself, and changing conditions. It really takes a toll on our bodies. So be proactive. Get some flu shots.
It's supposed to be more effective than last year, even.
Yeah, they hone it in each and every year. They're getting better and better about triggering the vaccine. So it really knocks us down. Gets you protected.
Good. Thanks, Matt.
Scotty, you get flu shot or just the flu?
Just a flu.
Jesse Littlefield. Patrick Lumbra. Ryan Martell. Jacob